Outrage is growing this week over the ballooning cost of life-saving EpiPens, which are currently sold by a pharmaceutical company called Mylan. Since 2009, the price that insurers and employers pay for a standard 2 EpiPen set has jumped from $249 to $615, all while Mylan executives have seen massive salary increases. For example, a report from NBC News has found that from 2007 to 2015, Mylan CEO Heather Bresch's total compensation increased from $2.5 million to nearly $19 million, a 671% increase. The furor over Mylan's price increases has prompted calls in the Senate for an investigation into their practices. While patients in the United States paid hundreds and hundreds for a pack of 2 EpiPens, even after insurance company discounts, patients in France only pay about $85 for the same package. So isn't this a perfect example of why we need a national health insurance program and a government that can negotiate drug prices like Medicare should be able to?
You're taking an outlier and using that to prove the... Yeah, okay, so
Huey's absolutely right.
Average
drug costs 10% a year right now with absolutely nothing under that except for drug corporation greed. 10% a year, year over year over year, without the inputs going up. Not an outlier.
When you look at the math and you look at the C-suite salary increases, and then you compare that to the actual revenue increase, you've only explained probably 5–10% of the cost of the increase in revenue. So what I'm saying
$1 billion is what this company has made by holding the health of children hostage.
Okay,
they're willing to let children die so that the CEO,
That's absolutely not true.
the CEO.
No, it actually is. Their revenue on EpiPens went from $300 million to $1.3 billion.
This is why it's not about actually letting government negotiate drug prices, or even the government or a public option, which we should do all that. This is about fundamentally looking at why are we granting patents and monopolies on pharmaceutical at all? Why is this the system that we've chosen?
That's how you create new cures.
Not at all.
That's
Because
do you know
who paid for the development of the EpiPen and the majority of drugs? The taxpayers at the NIH, in universities, through government grants. We pay to develop the drugs. We pay for that. Then we give them to a company. And then we pay for the patent and to protect the patent. And then we pay again the highest prices in the world. The American taxpayers are coming, going every which way by pharmaceutical
There's a dollar's worth of epinephrine in these things, and epinephrine is an old-fashioned drug.
1890s.
1890s.
This is the great part about this debate. It's really important because if I decide I want a particular medical procedure that, if you read the lead up into all these articles or all this coverage on this, there's multiple ways that you can get this drug. This is a very convenient, a very safe, and a very sort of expeditious way to get this drug, to make sure everybody's safe. But there are ways to get it without a $400 EpiPen. Now,
you know why the FDA only allows this one?
Come on.
It's for safety reasons. The FDA, this is something that libertarians, conservatives, and progressives should agree on, because it is government that gives them the ability to extract these monopoly rents. It is not competition. It is not market.
The research I read on this said that if people want to self-inject, similar to like a diabetic does with insulin, that they are legally allowed to do that.
So you're suggesting that kids going to school should carry a syringe and a bottle and learn how to fit.
The question on that is the teacher and the administrators and the other people who are in nursery schools and kindergartens and middle schools, who are the ones who are going to administer this, which is why the FDA has granted the monopoly, because they know that in an emergency setting...
Hang on just a second. The thing that's missing from all this for anybody watching who might be completely mystified what we're all shouting about is epinephrine is a drug that you give, and you have to give it instantly, very, very quickly, to somebody who's having anaphylactic shock, who's having an allergic reaction, whether it's to peanuts or shell food or being stung by a bee. One of my kids, in fact, is hyper bee sting allergic and nearly died, as we were taking her to the hospital once when she was 9 years old and got stung by a wasp, and has to carry one of these things. I'm real familiar with these. that I think that, frankly, these should be like defibrillating devices. They should be public. They should be everywhere. Every school should have them. You know, I mean,
especially Tom, because we paid to develop them. They were developed. This delivery system was developed by the military with DARPA funding because they needed an antidote for nerve agents. Right. This delivery system specifically was developed with military funding in mind.
We paid for it.
We paid for it. These should actually be free and publicly available in all public spaces. And this company, this overreach, this holding children's health hostage so that the CEO could make $20 million, this is overreach, and this company is going to pay the price for it because the public is
Well, they're not going to pay the price. They've moved to Ireland.
They have. They inverted, so they pay no taxes. Then they jacked up the prices. This is something that the next president can do with the signature of a pen. This does not take legislation. This is executive action, and the drug companies are serving themselves up on a platter. They're so greedy. The FDA could very easily allow any of the other generic competitors, right? This is a government-granted monopoly, so the government can take away the monopoly. You can do that on patents. You can do that in a myriad of ways through executive action alone. The drug corporations' greed is so great, they're going to choke on it, and that's. And I'm going to help them every step of the way.